Hi, my name is Eva Litzenberg. I'm the founder and managing director of London Language Hub, and I've been a German tutor for 20 years or so. Let's have a coffee and talk about multilingual parenting. So it was going to be great, right? Your kid was going to speak multiple languages, 2, 3, 4 languages, talk to their grandparents, make friends in your home country, be connected to the culture. The theory sounded great, but practice can be a little bit different. So I'm here to answer all your questions about multilingual parenting. Okay, so first of all, I want you to pat yourself on the back because your child already understands you. They just respond in English, and you've already won half the battle. So in learning any language, understanding and understanding comes before speaking. Now, it's still a little it's still really frustrating when your child doesn't answer in English, and there are a few things you can do to give them a little bit of confidence and get them to speak sooner. So first thing you should probably do is try and understand what's happening. So your child is already understanding and they're not answering in English to be defiant or to annoy you or because they can't be bothered. Probably the most likely reason is there is a little bit of anxiety going on and they feel that they're much better at speaking English than they are at speaking the minority language. So you need to give them a little bit of confidence and also take the pressure away from the situation. So I always like to compare not responding in the minority language to fussy eating. Okay, let me explain how the two of them are linked. So in both situations, we've got an area of life that a child who normally doesn't have a lot of control about what they do, where they go, what they wear. This is something that they can control. This is something that they can have an influence over. So in the same way that if you're dealing with fussy eating, one of the best things you can do is to sort of say, here's the food, here's something that you like, and here's something a little bit more challenging when you're ready for it. We sort of have a similar approach in in getting them to respond in your language. First, reassure them, and and talk and sort of tell them that it's okay, they can respond in English, but when they feel ready to respond in German or the minority language, you're there and you're proud of them. First step, give them a little bit of control. Second thing is wave in a few opportunities where the kids can try it at low stakes. Something that I always like to do is say you're a more fun parent in the minority language. So in English, can I have another biscuit? No, we're going to have dinner, eat a carrot. In German, kann ich bitte einen Keks haben? Natürlich, hier ist der Keks. I mean, you're going to have to eventually taper that in when they sort of figure this out as a hack. But it's sort of always say it never works in English or it rarely works in English. It works surprisingly often in German. Same thing with screen time. And then really just be incredibly patient and incredibly positive, however hard that is, and trust that one day it will happen. And even if it doesn't, even if they don't speak until their 18th birthday, when they're no longer your responsibility, well, they'll always be your responsibility, but you know what I mean. If as an adult they decide to take the language seriously and make an effort, they will find it more easy because you've already put a foundation. Ouch, that's really a sticky situation, and how you respond is going to is going to have a huge impact on where this is going to go. So first of all, you need to take your child seriously. So you kind of have to sit down with them. This normally happens when the child is a little bit older, so you can do a lot of reasoning with them, and you can say, what can we do? You can, first of all, you should probably say, well, I still find it important that you learn the language, but I'm willing to sort of meet you halfway. So you could say that maybe for the time being, in certain situations, you do go to English. Some proponents of multilingual parenting will disagree with me here, but I always think it's best to sort of try and do this with your child's consent and not sort of bulldoze them into learning a language, because the language may be at stake, but I mean, your relationship to your kid is also important. So sort of do what you have to do, and find a way that you can still do the language in some areas. You can still do it at home. You can still do it um, in sort of, if you've got cultural setting, but you can sort of meet them halfway. Maybe say, okay, when I pick up from school, I'll speak English. When you have a play date, I will speak English. Just find what works for you. And I think the most important piece of advice I can give you is, don't take it personally. Every parent will be an embarrassment to their child at some point in their lives. It's part of the parcel, and I know it's really difficult if it's something so close to your heart. But, you know, meet your kid halfway and remember that you're the parent. Okay, so a lot of the time you will have a life in the majority language. So you've moved to another country, you've got a job there, you speak the language, and you're kind of used to speaking it. And it's quite hard to then sort of come home and start speaking in your home language again. So if you find that you are struggling, it's really not your fault. And it's sort of is worth it to sort of examine what's happening. Why am I struggling? And what can I do to fix it? And can I fix it myself, or should I bring the professionals in? So a lot of the time, if you want to speak the language with your kid that you've grown up in, it's just a case of sort of habit. Best thing that I can advise is start as you go on. So if you are currently pregnant, this advice is for you. Start speaking to your bump in your mother language, and sort of try to establish, see how it feels. And if you feel, oh, it's a little bit uncomfortable, I'm not sure what's happening, then it might be a good idea to sort of go full immersion, start reading some books, seek out some TV programs in your language, and then really from day one start to speak the language to the baby. The hardest thing that happens, and most of the time people do struggle when they sort of, well, I start when they're 2 and 3, because as a baby, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, the baby is really the most deciding stage. So when you start speaking from day one, you will have a much easier time. Most people who struggle try to sort of bring the language back, and you've already got an established relationship in English, or other majority languages are available, and sort of backing out of a habit is much harder than sort of starting a new habit from day one. But what can you do if you are in that situation? If the advice of start with a baby in your tummy is a little bit late. Okay. First of all, I think it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So here I really like the time and place approach. So you pick a few times in which you are relaxed, you're having fun with your kids. So some families choose bath time, some families start just reading the stories in their language, or when you go to the park, just pick a few sort of pockets in your day, and so say, we speak German, on that day. The other thing I always like to say is turn it a little bit into a game, because again, switching is quite long, so you set a timer. First, we do 30 seconds. Can we speak German for 30 seconds? When you beat that, next day you sort of go, can we speak German for 1 minute? Yay! Pat yourself on the back, have a hot chocolate, and then sort of increase that. And then as the habit sort of grows, your confidence will grow and you'll find it easier. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And seriously, don't try to start on the school run when your kid doesn't find their PE kit and they're not putting on their shoes, because when you're stressed and they're stressed, is not a good time to start a new habit. So make German, or make the minority language, your fun language. Okay, that's a big one. And I think if you're bringing up a child in Germany, you may have encountered this, because the culture is not very supportive of multilingual parenting. Most of the time, my answer to this will be keep going in your minority language, because bilingualism is so beneficial to your child. I mean, I don't have to list all the benefits again, but they are telling you this for a reason. So, sort of really try to understand what the problem is they're trying to address. If your child is struggling in school, they can't follow the lessons, that is something that you have to address. It doesn't mean you have to stop speaking the language. That will be their sort of reflex for bilingual child. It's like, nope, gotta speak German, gotta speak the majority language. Um, are they neurodivergent? In which case, again, it may cause them to struggle at school, and it may have something to do with their multilingual upbringing, but probably most of the time it won't be that won't be the solution. So, what can you do? First of all, if your child is struggling in the majority language, you need to make sure that they've got enough exposure speaking the majority language. Doesn't mean stop what you're doing, but you need to sort of increase their exposure, either through play groups, putting them into a group with people of the same age. A lot of the time will do wonders. This is also a good place to bring in a nanny or an au pair if you can. Au pair, probably not the best thing, because they normally come to your country to learn the language. There is a little bit of a conflict of interest, but a nanny, if that's in your budget, or some sort of babysitter or a tutor, right? Um, would be a good sort of influence to help increase the exposure to the language. A lot of the time, that will fix it. If your child is still struggling, or if we're talking about neurodivergent children, my advice to you would be look for a speech and language therapist that specializes in bilingual or multilingual families. Seek their advice, sort of explain the problem to them, and work with them for a few months before you make any decisions about stopping your language. Because once you take it away, it will be super hard to introduce it again, um, for the reasons that we've talked about before. Um, Again, the teacher here is not your enemy. They are trying to help your child, but they may be influenced by a culture that's just not very open to multicultural, multilingual families, in which case, address the problem and just bear in mind that bilingualism is not what is causing it. Okay, so this is a really tough situation, because you do need the support of the other parent. And that is true whether you are living together as one family unit or whether you are living apart. So if the other parent is a block in the road, this could have a massive impact on the child learning the other language. It could have an impact on your family life. And really, I think the best thing here you can do is damage limitation. Well, the very best thing you can do is try to bring the other parent around. In that case, so try to sort of really understand their worries and their concerns. If this is something that you are discussing before having a baby, which I would always recommend, so they'll say, this is really important to me. I want to bring up our child bilingually, or maybe trilingually. It's important to me for these reasons. What do you think? Now, hopefully they'll be on your side. Most of the time, the other parent will also be quite excited about the possibility of having a bilingual or multilingual child. But again, some people would be worried. So common worries are that bilingualism will delay the child's development, or there could be a problem that they say, well, I don't know the language and I want to be able to understand my child. There shouldn't be a secret language. So these are sort of the main concerns. And really, what you should be doing at any stage of the discussion, as early on as possible, is to address these. There is a lot of research about bilingualism and how it's vastly beneficial to a huge majority of children, and there are no side effects. The idea that bilingualism delays development has been debunked by science. Now, not everyone is receptive to scientific researchers, so talk to them. Maybe again, talk to experts in the fields, talk to speech and language therapists if you can. Really sort of try and get them on site. And you could always say, why don't we try it? And if it doesn't work, we can always stop. But it's very easy to stop multilingual parenting. It's plenty of people have done it. The other concern, sort of the whole having a secret language, not being able to understand your children, is valid, and there are ways to address this. I think the easiest, well, not the easiest, but the best way is for the other parent to learn the language. Honestly, one, you'll be setting an example to your child. You can say, look, mommy or daddy is doing exactly what you're doing. And children love to copy. So you're setting yourself up for success. The other thing that or the best thing that you can do to address the other parent's concern about not understanding the language is encourage them to learn it. Give them some lessons, help them out, bring them in, make them part of the process. Now, that has a couple of benefits as well. One, there'll be an example to your child. Children love to copy their adults. And it would open up the possibility of maybe making your minority language the family language, which makes it easier for your child to feel secure in to feel secure in the language and speak it better than if only one parent was to speak it. Relax. Honestly, I know it's easier said than done. You are doing a wonderful thing trying to help your child grow up bilingually or multilingually. And you're doing all you can. You're probably doing a great job. And you just gotta tap yourself on the shoulders and Relax, you're doing all right.